Hey, I'm Abby and welcome back to the Life Work Balance YouTube channel. Today I want to talk to you about questions that you can ask a potential manager in an interview to determine if they're going to be a good boss for you. Before we jump into that, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the bell so that you can receive life work balance advice delivered directly to you every week. Having a bad relationship with your manager or your direct supervisor is the #1 reason people leave their jobs. It is possible that you've experienced someone who has been a not so great manager for you in the past, whether it's for this most recent job that you're looking to leave or a job that you've held previously. Now, before I jump into those questions that you can ask, I just want to share some basic thoughts. First, your goal during the interview process is not just to interview for this position. Your goal is to find a position that is the best fit for you, which means, sure, you are being interviewed during this interview process, but you are also interviewing the people across the table from you. You need to ensure that this job is going to be the best fit for you. If you don't ask questions at the end of the interview, if you don't interview your interviewers, chances are you will find yourself in the same position, looking for a new job, interviewing for new jobs in the short term. If you accept a job and you don't do your due diligence during the interview process to ask questions to ensure that this is going to be the right fit for you, chances are that within the next year or two, maybe even less, you will be looking for a new job because this one just isn't the right fit. So the goal during the interview process is to find a job that is the best fit for you, which means that it is up to you to ask questions that will give you insights into how this organization operates, how your manager manages, and what sorts of things might be relevant to the role that you could be engaging in on a regular basis. So I have many different videos on questions you can ask at the end of the interview. Check those out if you haven't already. I've linked to a playlist in the description box below, and I put it in a card up above so that you can easily reference and go to those videos next. This video is going to be specifically on questions that you can ask a potential manager to help you identify any red flags in their management style or any clashes that you could potentially have in the future. Again, the #1 reason most people leave their jobs is because of a bad relationship with their manager or their supervisor. You do not want to work for a toxic boss. So ask these questions during the interview process to identify if this is the right boss for you. Before we jump into those questions, I have just a couple of tips. The first is when you're asking these questions, you want to remain positive and polite. You do not want to have your questions come across in accusatory ways. You do not want it to seem like you're pointing fingers at them or you're suspicious of them. When you are asking these questions, remain positive and polite. Adding a little bit of sarcasm, making snarky comments is not going to do you any favors. When you ask these questions, these are all examples of open-ended questions. They're not leading questions, they're not yes-no questions. They are questions that will ask the person on the other side of the table, likely the manager or the supervisor that you will be working for if you get this job, to elaborate on their experiences. These are similar to the behavior-based or situation-based questions that you were likely just asked during the interview. Asking these types of questions back to the interviewer is a great strategy to understand how they will show up in their leadership role. So what sorts of questions can you ask at the end of an interview to help you evaluate if this person that you're interviewing with is going to be the right manager for you? The first type of question is just about their leadership style or their management style. So you could ask one of these questions. Can you describe your management style and how it translates to the team's success on a typical day? Or you can just generally ask, what is your leadership philosophy? Or you could ask, what would you say are the most essential qualities of a manager? Or what's your definition of an effective manager? The next set of questions are about feedback. So you could ask, how do you handle and respond to constructive criticism or feedback that might be perceived as negative? Or you could ask, what's your approach for delivering constructive feedback? Or you could ask, how does company culture view feedback? The next set of questions is about communication with the team. So these questions include, how often do you do team check-ins, both individually and with the team as a whole? You could also ask, as a leader, how do you share key information from the top down with your team? The next set of questions are about performance. How do you address underperformance within your team? And what is the performance review process? Or you could ask, How do you handle performance evaluations and setting goals for your team members? Or you might ask, can you provide me with an example of how you handle underperforming team members? Or you could ask, can you share an example of the most recent person on your team that you promoted? The next set of questions are about productivity and time management. Could you share your strategy for motivating your team and creating a productive work environment? Or how do you help your team prioritize tasks effectively to mitigate burnout? That very last one also might touch on mental health resources and ways that the manager, supervisor, or boss promotes wellness. The next question is a way that you might be able to get into the details about how this person handles their team making mistakes. So this might be, describe a time when a member of your team made a mistake. How did you approach it? What would you do differently next time? And then finally, you can ask a question that's about the team itself. This is a two-part question. What's the most challenging aspect of managing this team? And what is the most rewarding? When you ask these types of questions, sure, it's possible that this manager, supervisor, or boss has very little self-awareness and they're able to say all of the things that you want to hear. And at the same time, if you ask additional probing questions, if you ask clarification, if you make some comments about their responses, you likely can tease out how genuine their response is. And in a perfect world, you likely will interview with other members of your team. So you could even get some insights from them. Now, this isn't talking poorly about the manager to the people that you could potentially be working with, but you can ask clarifying questions to ensure that the information that you've received from both parties matches up and aligns. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, or ideas of additional questions you could ask at the end of an interview to help you determine if this is the boss, manager, or supervisor for you, please put them in the comments box below. I love receiving comments. I do my best to get back to everyone individually. And just know that if I'm not able to get back to you that quickly, your comments will likely help someone who's going through the interview preparation process in the future. So please share any comments, questions, thoughts, or ideas in the comments box below. If you are looking for more one-on-one individualized coaching to help you prepare for an upcoming interview, I offer one-on-one interview strategy sessions. Now, I have very limited availability each week, so if you have an interview coming up and you would like some help strategizing for a successful interview, please contact me today. I've linked to my email as well as my website in the description box below. You can email me or you can go to my website and book a session with me directly. I'd love to help you prepare for your upcoming interview. If you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the bell so that you can receive life-work balance advice delivered directly to you every week. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.